So with the flood of folks out there in the same field, how does a person like, and I'll just use tax preparers, okay?
Okay.
And how would a tax preparer stand out, an accountant, a financial service, a coach, and not just be seen as another, just another option?
Yeah. So what the question that you're asking is, how can I, as an entrepreneur, differentiate myself and create a branding? So let me tell you the mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs do in regards to this particular topic. One, they sound like everyone else, so that's not going to help. Two, there's no clear differentiation, right? So let me break that down a little bit. I mentioned my framework, PROP, right? Promotion, reach, offer, and price. Each one of those are levers that you could push or pull, and is going to help you become differentiated. So let's look at an offer. If you create an offer so valuable, let's say the value is 10 times that what is actually worth, what you're charging in terms of price, people are going to come running to you. If I'm selling a Tesla, brand new, a Tesla S for $10,000, it's going to create massive flood. So it's the same idea. You want to be able to create, just focusing on the O or prop, which is offer, just creating an offer that is irresistible is going to definitely help you stand out. Let's look at P, the messaging. If you use language, messaging that where people could resonate with, that's going to create the connection and the relationship. So I write copies for my clients, and one of the first activity that I do with them, other than identifying who the customer is what are the pain points that they're living? What is the life of that person in terms of the struggles, their frustrations, their anger, and all that? And that's the first piece that I describe in the copy. Because the moment the target audience reads that and they could resonate and say, that's me every day, they automatically build a relationship. There's a bond that just formed there. Now they have more trust to that person as an authority because that person really understands the individual. So going back, how do you differentiate yourself? I already answered one part of the question, and that is when I said the Oprah effect. Get on as many podcasts or work with as many people as possible who already have that, and you're leveraging or transferring over some of that credibility. The other piece is I also talked about the offer. Create a signature framework or a signature offer that is really unique to you. So for example, let me push on that a little bit as well with the branding. So if we think about Apple, so I worked at Apple. They are known as one of the best marketers out there, and they've been consistently ranked as top 2, top 3, depending on the year. If you look at the products that they have come out with, IBM was around with computers before Apple came with computers, but Apple didn't call it computers. HP decided to call it computer. Compaq decided to call it computer, right? All these other brands decided to call it a computer or a PC, but Apple called it a Mac. Then Apple did the same thing with not MP3 players, the iPod. Not smartphones, iPhone, and so on and so forth. So that when people are talking about the products, there's no question. People know Apple's being talked about because of the iPhone, iPod, right? When people go to Google search, they're going to look for iPod, iPhone. They're not going to look for MP3 player. So creating a signature product like the way Apple did, giving it a unique name that identifies that company or your business is going to also help you stand out.
Okay. So that's interesting that you say that, because those are products, right? Now,
Yes.
we have services versus products. Does it work the same way for the service industry as opposed to a product industry?
Yes, it does. So using Apple, they have the Genius Bar. Essentially, if something's wrong with your computer, you just go to the Genius Bar and listen to the name, Genius Bar, right? It's like as if you're in a bar, a nightclub bar, having a drink, but no, you're dealing with geniuses who's going to fix your actual device. So it's creating an experience that is happening, especially with whether it's product or service. You want to create an experience so people could start associating and identifying with your products, and they want more of it, more of that experience.
That's true. I guess it's perception, huh? What you
Yes.
perceive, perceived
Yes.
value versus actual value.
Correct.
Okay. So which marketing channel would you say actually works for financial professionals? Just as myself, which are a waste of time, you may say, if I don't do it right.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the answer is not going to be consistent, and it's going to vary based on who your ideal customer
Right,
is.
right, right.
So for example, let's say construction versus high-end professionals like doctors, right? With doctors, there's going to be conferences associated or fixed on who those doctors are or where they're located. So that channel for them is going to be very unique and different than it's going to be for construction. Now, that's one of the reasons why I say have a deep dive market research to really understand who your customer is. Now, if you already have customers, then that's great. All you got to do, or what I would propose, is set up an interview session, whether it's one-on-one or group one-on-one, so that you could ask them these questions. What magazines do you read? What newspaper do you read? Where do you spend time to learn more about your industry? And so on and so forth, because they're the ones who are going to give you the answers as to where they congregate. And that's where you want to focus on. So when I was in the venture capital world, there was 3 pillars that we looked at to make sure that we checked off that was there, or that we knew how to deal with it, and or before we move forward with the process of experimentation and interviewing before we started building a product. One of those was reachability. How easy is it to get a hold of these individuals, right? So if all of your customers your dream customer isn't Facebook, that's fantastic, because now you could do ads, you could do organic posts, live streams, you could do Facebook groups. There's so much that you could do within Facebook, and therefore you'd be able to attract them. If you're dealing with affluent people, generally speaking, they'll be in some type of association where it's paid membership. They're reading the high-end magazines or something to that extent. So that's where they're at, and that's where you want to put an ad or put an article, for example. Direct mail works really well with affluent folks. And I mentioned affluent folks because, generally speaking, affluent folks have the ability to pay for the services that many of your audience have. The question is going to be whether they have the willingness to pay for it, right? And then that's just a different matter. If they already have someone they trust, they're already taken. But if they're open, then it becomes more of the language and the experience that is being created.
Yeah. So being that you're saying that they're willing to pay, how would I structure my pricing packages to make sure that the lead generation is more profitable instead of just chasing more clients?
Yeah. So first and foremost is having a question and doing a deep dive internally for the company in terms of what is the business model. Because I agree with you. You want to be able to put all your costs. What is your fixed cost versus your variable cost? Some people may not know what that means. A fixed cost, think of it as Netflix, right? Every month they charge you, I'm not sure what the going rate is, but let's just say $8.99. Regardless of whether you watch one movie or you watch 10 movies, Netflix is still gonna charge you $8.99. That's fixed cost. It means it doesn't change. Now, in a Facebook ad, that's variable cost, because depending on how many impressions or how many people see it, how many people click on it, you're being charged for each of those clicks or for each of those impressions. So the price changes, the cost changes. So the first and foremost is really understanding what is your business model, the economics of your business model. Once you understand what's your potential cost, then that gives you an idea, at least as a starting point, what your price should be, because like you said, you want to be able to make a profit. Now, the biggest challenge that I see a lot of folks having is having a lot of, they call it freeloaders, and they consume an hour of their time on the call, and it's like, how could I stop this? So part of it is messaging. I'm going to go back to my 4 levers. Prop, right? For promotion, messaging. The messaging, I could say, here is a free consultation for a $99 tax service. Or I could say strategy consultation for high income entrepreneurs, exclusive tips on high-end advanced tax strategies. The messaging one versus the other is very different, and it's going to attract different people. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it, a second one that I actually done with some clients of mine, is pre-qualify them. So sometimes folks will put a website with a link to Calendly or something where they could book a meeting. I would say before you even do that, ask them a few questions. How much revenue or income do they make? Could they afford to use your service? How urgent is the problem? If they basically say yes, yes, yes to your criteria, fantastic. Let's have a meeting. But if you see one of those is missing, you could respond politely. It's like, I would love to help you. I see that you cannot afford this yet. In the meantime, here are some free content on the topic that I recorded on YouTube. This will be beneficial for you. And let's stay in touch. And you could grab them and put them into your free newsletter or free membership or subscription where they don't have to pay. So that way, when they may not be ready now, but they might be ready in the future. And when they are, hopefully by that point, you already built the trust with them so that there's nobody else but you that they're thinking about.